Alrighty, so welcome everyone. I am always so excited for Friday nights. It's um it's it's been an amazing week of really huge shifts. We've had this big full moon going on. That was really intense for a lot of people. It's been a beautiful week to be a coach because the shifts that I've seen in people this week have been just amazing. Such mind altering, life altering shifts happening this week. It's like, we sort of spent this last month getting ready for this, and these shifts, it's like it's really happening. And this week will be that opportunity to really live in your intuition and live in your sort of creative reality, this one that we're always envisioning. And what really called me to talk about self-worth and feeling worthy tonight was that there are many stories over time that we've told ourselves. We're born with certain things, we're told certain things from our parents, but the journey of worthiness is not just one thing that happened, not just one thing that you can recode, not just one thing that you touch on for a moment and it's just gone. It's the worthiness cycle. It's really something that we do every single day to keep us in it or out of it, right? And when I say worth, we don't really know how to value ourselves. It's our true self, this wholeness of us that we technically almost give away parts of. If you get into a relationship, you may overextend in a certain way or take on parts of them to be able to sort of fit that. Let's let a couple people in here to fit that, to fit that mold, to fit that life that you're kind of setting up, right? But some of the things that, welcome, beautiful souls, welcome, Heather, welcome, Samara. So great to see you guys tonight. I just started yabbering, so you're perfect timing as always. So welcome, welcome. I am setting the tone for what I wanted to talk about with self-worth tonight, because the beautiful thing about coaching is that we go on this journey together and we learn every single day. And the things that in this last week have been so enlightening with me working with clients, me seeing all of these, in parts of these witchy type groups, and everybody's just like, how y'all doing out there this week? Like, what the heck is going on? Because people are feeling some pretty intense things. People are feeling some, and I was really jacked up this week around the full moon. It was just like, this is just crazy. Everything's just happening so quick. But not everybody's at the same level. And a lot of people have been really struggling this last week too, because these things have been coming up. And we're like, okay, I'm tired of taking this psychic bypass route, which it was a term that I used to use because I always thought that I knew it and I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it for me. I was bypassing myself. I was just able, I could learn, I knew it all. I could tell everybody how to do it, but I wasn't doing it for myself, right? And that's where that self-worth comes in. And it brought me to think of this story, and I'll just tell you guys this really goofy story about myself and how I realized my self-worth issues, because it's not even that one day I just didn't have any worth. I remember being very feeling very worthy. We even do up until a certain point, until certain things started to happen, little bits at a time, little bits at a time, little boundaries crossed here and there. And then all of a sudden, what happens is you're spending more than you're earning. Or you're, if you've, even if with earning, gosh, to the very point of someone giving you something and you can't say no even though you don't even want it. Like, has anyone ever wound up with stuff and you're just like, you felt like, oh, I should take it, because if I don't take it, then they may never offer something again, and they may think that I don't want it. They may think I'm being rude and I don't need it. And and you don't want them to think a certain way, so you take this thing on. Well, I took on, like, it got so bad with me, I took on a bloody pony for someone. Like, I wound up with a horse because this person just, they decided that they have very clear boundaries, and they decided that this horse didn't fit in their lifestyle anymore. And they called, it was like, I'm that person that everyone will call when they have an animal that needs to be taken care of. They'll be like, Jackie will take it. I can't tell you how many cats I have in my barn because people have literally just come and left them here knowing I would take care of them. There's a dozen out there, and I've never had a cat. They just showed up. I fed them, they stayed. Hi, Chris. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. It got to the point where this friend of mine, and Susie, if you ever watch this, you'll have a good laugh at this because we've never actually talked about this. She called me up and was like, I can't do this. I brought my pony to the auction because I thought I'd find him a good home. The only place that's going to take him is for dog food. I can't bring him home. I'm done. She had set up her boundaries. He's not coming home, right? So what does she do? She calls me with the big sucker on my forehead that'll, just take something on even if I can't take care of it. And I didn't realize it was my lack of self-worth, right? Like, so I still have this bloody pony who costs me hundreds of dollars a month. Its feet are foundered. It's the most high maintenance pony I have ever seen in my whole life. Has thyroid problems. Has to have its hooves trimmed every month. It's like an expensive lawn ornament, and my kids never even got to ride it because by the time we ended up getting all the health problems sort of in check, there's no way to ride this thing. My kids are twice its weight now because it's this little miniature pony that I just thought, I'll save the world. And when I thought, like, wow, not only did I take the pony, I wound up giving her a massage for it too. It went way beyond like, not only should she have paid me for it, paid for some of the vet bills, paid for it, it went way beyond, right? Like, that was how far not having your boundaries in check. Oh, look at that, sweetie Ruby. You're in the right group here. Is she a rescue?
Well, she's a rescue. I let my son talk me into going to look at him. Look at him. Ended up with her. Oh my god. They won't let me. They gotta make me keep her.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And at this point, like, I love this pony too. I wouldn't get, but it's like, it really made me think because, um, some of the stories that you hear of things that people take on, like a massive TV when they don't watch TV, but someone gave it to them, so they don't want to say no. It's this lack of boundaries is what it really comes down to, right? And every time our boundaries have been crossed, we're a four-legged babies household in here. I'm not sure if Chris, I don't know if you have critters kicking around. We always end up having them as part of our conversation. I always
Yeah.
talk about the unconscious mind being kind of like a dog that sort of needs to be trained, and if we kind of get the dog and we don't really commit to training it, it'll start eating the baseboards and stuff. So we have to kind of keep it our.
She doesn't know the difference between outside bathroom,
Mm.
inside her bathroom. We just haven't gotten to an agreement on that. So she's driving me crazy. Yeah, how much you?
it takes, and it takes training. Like, if you really hammered it down for a month of, like, really paying attention to cues, really going all in, being, super paying attention, sometimes we can actually really sort of get somewhere. And that's kind of where I'm going even with this whole worthiness thing. We we don't even notice the worthiness cycle that we can sort of be in, or structure that we can be in. These emotions that keep us in that unworthy sort of feeling, they're on that lower level of consciousness, lower vibration, right? So we've got fear, we've got shamey anger, we've got sadness, we've got guilt. We've got these feelings that kind of stick around, and and cause us to stick in this sort of lower vibration. So when we can examine these a little bit from this kind of higher perspective, detective sort of scope, it's way enlightening. And I don't know if you guys like murder mysteries, but I'm all over murder mysteries. So I like just kind of, right? Like it's like, ooh, and you can kind of figure things out. But what I like about that is that all the people that I know that are really into murder mysteries, they are very in tune as well, and they kind of can play detective with themselves very well. And so they really like this. So some of the exercises that I do is I make you kind of look at, for example, if you were to just if we were to kind of gauge our own self-worth, right? If we were just kind of above and took a snapshot picture of our life right now and really kind of broke it down, you know, looking for clues, not in a shameful way, not in a judging way, just in that murder mystery perspective. How did he get away with it this long? You know, like, how did I really miss this? Because we're not being conscious. That's that unconscious mind, that that monkey mind, that one that takes over and eats chips while you're listening to a self-help meditation, which I did not do today, by the way. And I was like, I'm listening to this and I'm eating chips. Oh my God, Jackie. So I just went and put the chips down. It was totally unconscious. They were sitting on the counter. I was hungry. I hadn't paid attention to what I needed for my nutrition. I didn't do my drinks, nothing that morning. I was eating chips by 2:30 because I was not paying attention. That was that unconscious mind. So it was like, bloody heck. I put them down and I went back and I got an apple out of the fridge. And I was like, oh, that's better. But that, if I had stayed unconscious, that bag of chips could have been gone. And boom, there you go, back into that unworthy cycle, right? So it's exhausting kind of examining all the time, but I could listen to murder mysteries all day. So I've just kind of changed it into this sort of treasure hunt for myself, looking for ways, changing my focus even. Just like that, where my energy goes is where my energy is going to flow. I'm now paying attention to little things that will increase my self-worth, because there was a lot of karmic self-worth that I gave away over the years. And I've been doing lots of work. Like I have 3 coaches I work with because I'm doing this work. I'm letting this stuff go. I'm looking at it. I'm not hiding from it anymore. And it's not because I'm digging for it. It's coming up because I'm making space to actually allow it to come up and leave. And the light that's coming in is just amazing, right? Like that's kind of that key to letting go. Looking at this now that we're sort of in a place where we can see it from a higher perspective, where we can see it from non-judgmental, let's have a little look at the snapshot of our lives, right? How are things in the bank? How are things, like, not that self-worth has anything to do with finances, but we will also spend more than we have when we don't have that self-worth, when we don't know what it is, those things that we even really value. Because we're trying to create, in especially in magnetic mind work, we're trying to create this ideal image. We're looking at who do we want to be? It's different than who we are, right? But when we look at who we really are and what really makes us happy, that's what we're supposed to be focusing on, not so much on who that ideal perfect image is. Because when I go into those images, it's often this perfect, everything's perfect, but that means I want to be perfect. That means I'm focusing on the fact that I'm not perfect. And even if I'm just recoding that stuff, I'm still focusing on the fact that I'm not perfect. So what I've really tried to do in the last little while is shift the focus to really kind of building this self-worth up in the ways that I never would have thought were even imaginable. And by that, I mean, it's the simplest little things, like sweeping off my step. So this is the next exercise. I want you to take a snapshot in your mind right now and even think about your front door. Now, doesn't have to be the front door, but we think about our front door as the representation of what the world wants, what we want the world to see us as. What, And it's interesting when we look at that, because if we look at it and there's shit everywhere, I've got literally my kids' farm shoes are outside because they were out in the barn. They're not allowed to bring them in. I even recognized this last week and I still haven't moved those shoes because I'm waiting for them to do it because they're gross and stinky and I don't want to touch them. But my corn broom, my cool witchy corn brooms at the back door, the things. And what I realized is our front door is the step is non-existent. We ripped it off because it fell off, because it's this old farmhouse that shifted. And the fact that even our house is where, like I was saying on Wednesday, my cousin used to live with me. I still have to send her a pin to get to my place. Like it's not just right on the road or the highway. Like you have to sort of go around all these other roads and to find it even. And I looked at that as my whole life and I'm like, if I even look at my Facebook page, I'm not all out there in the coach. I'm not all, this is my trauma. This is my life. That's just, I mean, it's like I'm hidden, yet I expect everyone to know what I'm doing. But unless they're, I know it doesn't resonate with everybody, but for me, it was like, then don't put it out to anybody. And the people that will just need me will find me. But that's a very difficult way to kind of go around it when my true goal is to literally just help as many people as I can. So when we look at what we really want, it doesn't have to be, do I want to be that perfect person? It's really, what do I want? What actually just makes me happy? And you know what? Sweeping off my step and making my back step kind of look presentable instead of it looking like a back step that is no better than anyone else's and doesn't want to have any more than anybody else and doesn't need the perfect thing to show anything. It really showed a lot about myself. And you walk in and out of that door how many times a day? It's reinforcing that belief. It's reinforcing that I don't deserve more than anyone else has. I don't deserve to have a new step. I don't deserve to get on my husband's butt about even, kind of getting a nice, because he's carpenter, he could build anything, but it's like, meh, it's not a priority. But it is, if I looked at it from the point of, that is how, when someone's coming into my house, they're, that's the first thing they're seeing, that's the first thing they're feeling. But not only that, it shows how much I feel I'm worth. It really does. When you just look at your door, are those door jambs wiped? Do we take care of it? Do we just, let stuff pile up there? It's a very big representation. And I mean, it's not for everybody, but most people that I've worked with, it does show. It's just a front door, right? But it does show you are going in and out of that so many times a day. It's reinforcing whatever belief that is that's at your front door. So, if it means sweeping off your step, or if it means putting something that will just remind you how much you've come, how far you've come, if it's going to a flea market and finding a really funky door knocker, if it's painting your door a certain color because you want to, if it's whatever it is, that one little thing that you did for you to show that you are worth putting time, attention, and energy into will be reinforced every time you walk through that door. It's so beautiful. So we look at a few things, right? There's that. There's some of the things that I mentioned on, right? Little things, like really little things. And Samara, it's really cool. You're getting to start over. And you can make this the house that is you, that represents you. Like, what do you want your doormat to say? What do you want your house to feel like when people walk in? This is, it's just an outside representation, but you're looking at it every day. And then, take a snapshot of yourself. Take a snapshot of yourself right now. Look at just, what you're wearing, what kind of, getting rid of stuff, all that stuff that people gave you that you've just been hanging on to in case you need it, or in case you could help someone, or in case, think of your judgments of the minimalists, or think of how you feel about all this stuff that you've got. And, maybe that's some stuff that we're even ready to let go of. All of those binding things that we have. Because even if we have these things, then it means that we have to always be looking for someone to give them to. That's always in our field. That's a lot of clutter, right? But when people have been through traumas and they have lost someone, they will hang on to stuff and they will have a really hard time separating that emotion from it, right? So this gives us a chance to look at that too. When we look at the things that are causing that that self-worth cycle, we look at the four emotions. I'm going to get into them quick just because they're huge. So the first one is fear. When we have some fear around anything to do with a purchase, or anything to do with a relationship, or anything to do with someone giving us something, any kind of transaction in our life, we have to look at that fear, because fear is made to tell us that we should really be careful of something, that there might be something that could be harmful for us. There might be something that maybe will push us over our boundaries again. There might be something that we're missing out on. There might be something that, it's very valid. It's a very, very important feeling to have, because it's also kept us alive this long. But when we can look at it is, what are we afraid of? And that's literally the magic. Asking ourselves, what am I afraid of with this? Like, why do I have this anxiety? Why do I have this fear? Like, just literally asking yourself for a moment. Meditation can simply be tuning into yourself for a moment, because wouldn't it be stronger to just actually take a few nice deep breaths, just go, I really want this. Why am I so, even why am I distracted right now? Why am I scrolling? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling anxious? Why am I fearful? What's going on? To ask yourself, am I afraid of something? When you ask yourself that very specific question, it just pops up. You don't have to go digging for things. You don't have to be like, well, I am kind of afraid of spiders, but I mean, I haven't really seen one lately. Like, we don't have to really dig for it. It's like, I'm afraid of them leaving. I'm afraid of being abandoned. I'm afraid, like, it drops in when we actually pay attention for just a moment, right? So that fear is meant to tell us something. If we use it as a friend instead of something that's going to be able to hold us back or restrict us in some way, because think if you're fearful of something that might be really, really amazing. We're always fearful. We always have a little anxiety about certain things. But why? Why do we have that fear? We can just kind of face it a little bit, because we're coming at it from this bigger perspective now. We're not coming at it from, think about it as coming at it from a completely innocent baby. What kind of story would, for a little baby, if they were afraid of something like, well, I'm afraid that they might leave you, what would you tell that baby? We can tell ourselves that, because that's where we are now. We're not that, we're not, we have this perspective. We're not just sort of fearful. We have all this information. It's all come in for these reasons, right? So we can ask ourselves, what are we afraid of? Use that knowledge, use that wisdom to just literally reinforce those boundaries instead of having them be crossed. And that's when anger comes in. Anger will come in when those boundaries are crossed, because that, something inside of you is like, no, I don't think so. It gives you that hard no type feeling, that fact that you're spending more than you're receiving, even if it's, a job you really love, but you're just not, it's like, you get that feeling like it's draining you, right? If something's draining you, that means it's a draw on yourself, on your true self, and then on your self-worth, just by allowing that to happen, even if we love it, right? Even if we absolutely love it. Yeah, it's all about the balance, right? You have to have this balance, and that's where we get into certain structures like animal rescue and things like that, because there's such a strong urge to save the world, to be good enough, to have that, they make you feel so worthy, right? But in the long run, you're almost giving it away, because you're giving all of your power to that. You're not doing anything for yourself. You're just literally giving it all. And that's never going to work out in any situation when it's just a single draw versus an equal exchange. There always needs to be some sort of equal exchange, even if it's just energetically, right? So anger is the one that will let us know when we need to be paying attention to that draw versus that earn. I always kind of refer to the bank of karma. And what I didn't realize was that by building my quantity in the bank of karma, I was depleting my quality and my quantity of self-worth. And that was not my intention. ever, you know, it, always, as you know, as far as any of us probably have been as a child, we always just wanted to make people happy. We always just wanted to belong. We always just wanted to be loved. We always just wanted to fit in. And so by doing that, we gave away so much of ourselves that at this point, it's like when someone asks you, what do you really want? It can be the most difficult question to answer because it's like, I just want to be happy. And a lot of times that means if everyone's happy, then I'm happy. You know, if everything around me is happy, I'm happy. So what in turn that means is that we have to spend all our time making everyone happy and we'll eventually be happy. And it doesn't end up really working out that way, right? It really doesn't. We come to this point, some say midlife crisis, some say journey. We come to this point where we kind of realize that by actually doing the things that we do really love, those things that sort of light us up, all the magic happens in that we're literally living that life that we love. We're literally being it to see it. We're literally being our own predominant creative force in our life. It's not just choosing to have a great coaching business. You know, it's literally being that creator of every moment of your life where you're really paying attention and creating this life of worth, this life of really giving everything from, you know, the fullest place, not from a place of trying to just, you know, psychically bypass it all. And this week has been this opportunity for those people who are really in it to be able to just really embrace this and really know that this is, you know, something that they're kind of meant to do, even if it's just being on this path of just getting this information on this exact day. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to be doing this 9 to 5 every single day. It just means that you're on a path where you're actually learning how to sort of really empower yourself for the right reasons, for some of us, for sometimes even the first time, for real, you know, like we, you know it, but doing it is the execution is where the really big stuff starts to come in, right? Actually doing it, because we all, I always feel like we all know it, but we tend to not really do it sometimes. So this is little ways to do it. And as funny as it sounds, sweeping off the step, these kind of little things are the keys to doing it, because it's so subtle and so easy and so submersive that you're gonna end up crossing it all the time without sort of noticing it, right? Ah, you're so sweet, Nikki. So was that Nikki or was that Samara that said that? Whoops. Oh, I love you guys. That was you, Nikki. So a few more exercises because it's fun. I want you guys to go around and use your phones after and just take some snapshots and play murder mystery detective, okay? So snapshot of the front door, snapshot of your outfit right now, your hair, your teeth. Did you remember to brush your teeth today? You know, how's the how's the jewelry situation? Not that we have to be all dolled up, not that we have to wear makeup. Is your underwear torn? I was joking about my husband's underwear on Wednesday. I was going to bring a pair to show you the holes. It's like, what are we doing? We just need to be able to give ourselves a little bit of self-worth. Are we worth buying a couple of new things once in a while? Not going out and none of this costs money. This is the thing. It could just be throwing out the pairs of underwear that have the holes in them because you have 15 other pairs. You can just get rid of them, right? The things that we do on such a minute level, even going through some clothes, doing a clothing swap with someone, you know, a friend that has a really cool eclectic taste that likes to shop, you know, take advantage of flea markets, or just going out for a walk, or just getting, if you really love gardening, get a little mini herb garden. Get one of those little, they're called arrow gardens. You can grow inside. You can have little fresh salad clippings every day and just enjoy nurturing something. You know, take the potted thing of mud outside the front door and put a nice plant in it. If you kill plants, just commit to keeping that plant alive for the summer. And, you know, you end up making those little shifts. You see that plant every time you walk in. This is exactly it, Samara. You're being consciously aware instead of running on autopilot, because we're on autopilot so much. We get to kind of hack into our autopilotness by doing things like looking at our front door, looking at our outfit today, looking at your meal. Take a snapshot of what you had for lunch. Did you eat at the couch on the coffee table? Did you eat? Did you eat on the run? Were you in the car? Did you, look at just the meal, the story of worthiness in that meal, right? Look at your bed. Take a little snapshot of your bed. Have you even slept in bed? Have you fallen asleep on the couch? Do you even bother getting yourself into bed? One of my clients last week was like, I just sleep in my chair. I'm like, well, would you stop that? Go take a snapshot of your bed right now. And he did. And it was a beautiful bedroom, but he didn't feel like it was his. So he asked his wife, can we get rid of some of these pillows? Like, he just was so resentful of the fact that he had to take 35 pillows off of his bed to even get into his bed, that he just actually refused to get in his bed and was sleeping in the chair. And he was wondering why they weren't communicating. So I was like, if I hadn't asked you about your sleeping, where you were sleeping, right? So I love it, Samara. That's so awesome, because now it's back to you. You get to actually kind of make some choices, and that's a nice thing to know too. Knowing that you have space is actually a really good thing. Sometimes we feel like maybe we should have roommates, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we need someone living with us. We get into these patterns of maybe I should be doing this. That's not really what we want, right? When we start looking at this stuff, when we start writing little things down, we start playing murder mystery detective, we get to know all these things. So look at your bed. What could you make it do? Tiny little thing without spending any money to just make it more comfortable for yourself. Have you even always wanted different sheets? Have you anything, change your furniture around, right? There's so many little things that we can do to just give ourselves that little bit of a worthiness fill up, kind of getting that going. So the last two feelings that I didn't talk about, so I talked about fear and anger. The other ones are shame and guilt. Shamey guilt, we call it, because it's really kind of one and the same. The last one is sadness, so we'll go into that in just a moment. But when we feel that fear and shame, or that guilt and that shame, that's often caused from us wanting to actually be able to pay attention to our relationships. It's about how we're sort of expending ourselves. Are we over expending in our friendships? Are we giving too much? Are you the person who even doesn't have the money but still pays for dinner for everybody? Just, those things where we kind of look at, if we're feeling a lot of guilt and shame, we can know that it's simply telling us to have a look at our relationships, to have a look at our communications with people. Are we being clear? Are we maybe not saying things that we should be saying? Have we maybe allowed people to cross boundaries and don't perhaps know how to even start setting them up? So we just let shame and guilt kind of keep us from doing that. This is a very enlightening one because it often entails other people and our relationships with them. So if shame and guilt tend to be a big thing, like I feel bad a lot, I want you to pay attention with your sort of super detective work at when you feel this emotion, taking a bit of a snapshot with that in your head, thinking of my voice in your head and just thinking, why am I feeling guilty about that? What did I just write? I just wrote, oh, I feel so bad. Like, why do I feel so bad? Do I really feel bad, or is that my story? And so I'm sort of repeating it still because that doesn't always fit so much anymore. Right? Like, yeah. And with our kids, I mean, we don't want to let people down. So then why don't we want to let people down? We have to allow ourselves, why am I feeling that right now? And actually honor it for what it is and just kind of pluck that wisdom in that investigation and just chalk it up on your wisdom chart of, I think I need to maybe, do a little shift, get this in check. And what will happen is those people will stop kind of coming in to test you so much. Those people that were drawing as much, they will shift away. And the new ones that are coming in will be on a different vibration when you make space for that. When you've realized it, when you're not just psychically bypassing and then going and taking someone else on that you got to take care of. No problem, Chris. It was great to have you. I have the replay in my group so you can do the meditation after if you want, because we are going to get into that right away. The last thing I'm going to drop into is sadness. Now, sadness is definitely one where this is a lot of people have had grief. A lot of people have had a lot of things that they've lost in their life. And that can be right down from a business to a child to a parent to an animal to, even things that we've lost physically that we just can't find again. Can be rather attached to some of these things, right? But when we're having sadness, it's actually, I guess the biggest thing that it's trying to teach us is that we need to be able to seek comfort. We need to be able to allow ourselves to heal. We need to allow ourselves to be able to take some time and allow ourselves to go through that process, because time is the only thing that does allow us to go through sadness. And when we're in serious sadness, when we're in a traumatized state, say when we've just lost someone, and even if it's for a year or two sometimes after, we can be in that trauma state. And well-worn paths are very easy to stay on in trauma state. So if you've gone through something really, really tough, or maybe many, many tough things, we can end up staying in that traumatized state and not be able to kind of see those new paths that we can take. So when you're making these shifts and you're coming out of a state like that, it's easier to kind of get stuck in them when we're sort of still in that trauma state. And that's why time sometimes is just needed. But that's not to say that 20 years down the road, you smell your mom's perfume and it still brings you to your knees when she's been gone for decades, right? Like there are certain things that still will strike you and you don't expect them to happen that day. You don't even know some of those things that you're even feeling sad about that day until you take a moment to ask yourself, you know, what am I sad about? And it'll drop in and you'll just be like, whew, it'll come. You can breathe, you can work through it, and it's gone. It's absolutely amazing how it works. This is that sort of enlightened state where you can actually see it from above and you can make that informed decision. You can make that magic happen by just taking yourself into consideration first, choosing to put that time, love, and energy into yourself so that you can actually start building up that self-worth and really getting that true self to start shining. Because in those little things that we do, those little tiny things that make you happy, you discover other things that make you happy. You discover as you're sweeping your step that you'd actually just really like to have this kind of step and you'd never thought of it before. You didn't even know you needed a step until actually just starting to look at it and realizing that, boy, a step would actually make me feel pretty happy and it would feel really good. And I think I really want a mudroom. That's what, and it all starts just by that one beautiful thought full of finding the true self and not imagining and being someone else, but actually imagining just being who we really know that we are, because we do know we're in there. It's just a matter of kind of letting that little one out to play. So my biggest advice is to go around, take some snapshots, try your outfit, your front door, your life, your bed, your food, all of these wonderful things that will give us some insight as to what's going on. And the other thing would be to practice as many little self-worth building exercises, because this is a muscle, right? It's a muscle we've always had. It's just sometimes we got away from really working it, and the more boundaries that were crossed, the more things that we gave away of ourselves, the less we worked it, and the less we worked it, and the less we worked it, until somehow it got to a point for some people where they were just completely in financial ruin and they went, you know what, I don't even have money to get groceries, for them to finally realize that, maybe there's a different way of kind of looking at things, that maybe, it might need examining a bit, but it doesn't have to get to that point, right? Where it's like the house burns down per se for you to have to rebuild it all. This is just a beautiful part of the journey. So wherever you're on in this journey, I hope that this information ends up finding its way into your heart and allowing your boundaries and your backbone and everything to just get so much stronger, and your heart to get softer and more open in treating yourself like that really innocent baby. You know, if you're wondering if you're in the worthy cycle or the unworthy cycle, think about, you know, would I tell a little baby, a little innocent baby, this story that I'm saying right now? Would I be explaining things to them like this right now? Really give yourself that space and that love, and yeah, and just fly. So I would love to, because when we're talking about all this stuff, especially sadness, felt lots of stuff come up there. And same with the guilt and shame, just the fear. There's lots of stuff kind of just floating around in the field. So I would love to do a little meditation with you guys, a little recode meditation where we're going to imagine that our heart, I remember doing, yeah, I don't know if you guys were there. I know Ruby, you might have missed this one, but I did this sort of addictions experiment. And one of the things that I did was this meditation with a fish tank. And something about fish tanks is just calling me today. It's, it's the heart center is this, I almost view it as like this beautiful sea anemone. You know, those sea anemones that Nemo would hide in, that just has all these little fingers, and if it was attacked, it would kind of like fold in a little bit, and it would sort of be able to protect itself. And so we're just going to imagine that our heart space is this beautiful sea anemone, and I'm going to have you guys just take a few nice deep breaths with me. I won't go too long into a meditation, but I am just going to go through some of the emotions and just kind of clear out our energy, because I am big into energy centers, and a lot of this stuff is stored in there. And what I really like to do is just kind of get everything sort of balanced out. So if you see me just doing some of this, Ruby, it's just literally my hands start to tingle. I don't always do it. And I don't know if you guys notice, I don't, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But it's just flowing. I'm already in the field, and my hands are just heating up like crazy. So I may just kind of try and help balance out some energy here just to clear some stuff. And this is all completely voluntary. You know, I'm not going to go in and see anything or feel anything that you don't want to be felt. Anything that wanted to be sort of brought up into the field today to be just kind of safely let go and touched on is just exactly what's going to come up for us today. So I'm huge into breath work too. We're not going to do anything too crazy, but I really do want you guys to try and connect in with your breath right now. And we're just going to take a few nice deep breaths together. And when you're breathing in, I'd love it if you could just breathe in through your nose, filling up your belly, filling up your chest, filling up those side lungs, just expanding every cell in your body. And when you breathe out, you're just going to crack your lips and just let it all go. Deflating your belly, deflating your chest, letting all that air just escape from the body, and breathing in again through the nose. On your own timing is completely fine. I just want you to tune into your breath. I want you to tune into, is that breath entering your body? Does it feel restricted? Is that energy heavy? If you were to picture the air moving in through your nose, could you picture it almost like a beautiful silky smoke starting to move through your body in just this beautiful magical way? Starting to just disperse amongst your cells, just as though it's going out like a little medical detective smoke, moving around your whole body, looking for areas that just need some beautiful magical oxygen, just breathing that beautiful healing light smoke coming in through your body. And as you breathe out, I want you to just imagine the tension just leaving your body, the tension leaving right from the top of your scalp, like your hair is just melting on your head, and just allowing your forehead to simply relax right now, and your eyes, letting the bridge of your nose feel like it's relaxing, like it's heavy. And allowing that beautiful light to just Fill every space in your skull, in your head, letting that beautiful breath just connect with every part of your head. Even feel the temperature change. Does it feel kind of cool going in? Noticing everything. As that breath expands down your throat and through your shoulders and arms, all the way down the arms into the forearms and the wrists and each little finger, feeling that beautiful breath just touching every cell. And I want you to imagine as this light, as this beautiful iridescent smoke, this breath starts to touch your whole heart chakra inside of your chest cavity, filling up your whole chest. I want you to imagine inside of this heart center a beautiful little sea anemone. And I just want you to notice what it looks like. It may look like it's a closed up little sea anemone. It may have dark colors. It may be a beautiful rainbow one that's just out there. It may have fish living in it. You may see the whole aquarium. I want you to just notice the sea anemone that's inside of your heart center right now. As you let the oxygen, as you let your breath continue to fill through your whole body, as we just ground in those three bottom heart, those centers, your solar plexus, allowing your diaphragm, your belly to just expand with that oxygen right now, and feeling that light, that smoke, that beautiful healing iridescence start to enter your belly, moving its magic through. I want you to imagine it coming down towards the belly button. This is where all the boundaries are. We're just going to allow that light to just kiss every cell in that area. And moving down into the sacral plexus, all through the low back, through the lower belly. Just allowing your air to fill that area, releasing any tension and starting to relax your pelvic floor muscles. Let those go right now. Let your hips go. And just imagine this light starting to fill all the way down, getting oxygen right down to your legs, your hips, your thighs. Almost like healing energy light. You can feel it start to just tingle through your knees, your calves, and your feet. And just allowing that light, that oxygen to just simply move into each toe and around the bottoms of the feet. And allowing that beautiful oxygen to just swirl, just replacing any darkness with that light, beautiful iridescent smoke. And I'd like you to bring your attention back to the anemone in your heart center. I'm just going to create a space, a nice, beautiful, safe space, where it's almost as though each of you is floating in this beautiful Merkaba, this beautiful geometric shape. You may see it and you may not. For some, it's more of a tetrahedron, more of a triangle. There we go. And we're going to make a choice right now to allow ourselves to be the creative conscious energy of our life. We're going to choose to truly take that driver's wheel and fill that tank back up. And we're going to choose to put the time, the energy, and the love into ourselves. And I want you to just choose that for yourself right now. I'm just going to help hold this heart space. And I want you to imagine, as you choose this, that some of those anemone fingers are starting to feel safe enough to test those waters. They kind of like the way that feels in the body. They kind of like the way that vibration feels. They kind of feel like that feels kind of safe. And when those sensors come out, I want them to just notice the things that may drop in just to be touched upon very safely. Around the emotions of fear. And if we were to just choose right now to put that time and that love and that energy into ourselves, what are we afraid of? And I want you to just notice that that story may be a little untrue. A story that maybe we're gonna let people down, or that really, no. What if we choose to forgive ourselves for letting ourselves down? What if we even chose to forgive ourselves for letting other people down? Because it happens. I want you to just take a nice deep breath. And just allow yourself to notice any of those emotions that are just feeling safe enough for those anemone fingers to touch upon. And when they do, they realize that there's actually nothing there. There's nothing to coil back from anymore. There's nothing that can be changed. There's nothing that having the anxiety about it will change. And we're just going to tag and treat all of that. All of those emotions around that fear, just taking some of the charge out of that emotion, just allowing that wisdom to come through. Just honoring that fear, honoring that we know that may have been a way that we had to belong. We may have always had to prove our worth. Prove that we had deserved that love, that belonging. There we go. I just want you to have a nice deep breath through that. Just allowing that to literally just move through. Feeling good about knowing now the things to actually be really afraid of. And now making that choice again to truly commit to time, to energy, to loving yourself, to paying attention to you. Where's the sadness and the grief? Sorry, where is the grief and the shame about that? Where's that guilty? Oh, that sadness keeps coming up. feel like we just need to touch guilt first. There's a lot of guilt about the boundaries that have been crossed on ourselves. Feeling like we can't change things. Just allowing those emotions to come up right now, allowing that anemone to simply reach out, to start to feel a little bit safer around this guilt and shame, knowing that those emotions, those charges, were simply you doing the absolute best that you knew how at the time. There's a lot of forgiveness that comes around the guilt and the shame, a lot of forgiveness for ourselves. Just allowing that for a moment. What if you were to just choose to forgive yourself right now? What does it feel like to let that beautiful sea anemone start to reach out to that a little bit? What if we actually felt okay to forgive ourselves? Almost like we would forgive that innocent little baby. We would never expect that they would keep guilt or shame. Just allowing the superconscious to show you any more guilt or shame that just needs to be touched on right now. That's beautiful. I'm just going to tag and treat anything in the field. And I want you to notice our little friend anger. When we make that choice to actually commit to spending time, energy, love on ourselves in simple little ways, I feel like anger will be able to take a backdoor seat now. Knowing that those boundaries that were so clearly crossed before have no chance now. Allowing that solar plexus to just feel that strength of those boundaries that are so much clearer now than they used to be. And now, because we're in the heart space, we're going to allow some of this sadness, some of those things that we have never allowed ourselves to grieve, some of those things that we've never allowed ourselves to feel, some of those things that we've maybe never even thought were still kind of hiding down there. I want you to just allow that sea anemone to just get into the middle of it for a moment. I want you to drop right into that heart space. I'm just going to go around to the back of the heart. Into that upper back. And just allow that energy to start flowing through there. Feeling safe, feeling love. I want you to imagine being that sea anemone right now. And wanting so badly to just be able to allow your tentacles to go out and feed on the true wisdom. And in doing that, anything that you touch upon can simply be dissipated. And I want you to just allow any of that old sadness, any of those things. I want you to ask yourself, is there sadness that just needs to be given some attention right now? Perhaps brought up and let go, making way for more light. I feel like this charge from some of those emotions that were really, really far down, old stuff, has an opportunity to just come into the active experience and be tagged and treated in the most beautiful way to move us towards the easiest path of taking and spending that time and that energy and love on ourselves. Knowing that we're actually worth putting that time and energy and money into. And I want you to really make that choice right now. Allowing anything else to move through, any random thoughts, just being an observatory detective. Allowing any of those things just popping up into the active experience to simply be tagged and treated on all of the timelines and moving us towards being that predominant creative force in our life, taking control of where our energy is being directed, where our energy is flowing. When we're in that worthlessness cycle, it feels like we're hanging onto a branch and we're barely above water. Recognizing that feeling and being able to switch it into simply letting go of the branch and floating down the stream that's always been trying to pull us. And knowing that that worthiness is going to allow us to float. So all of these emotions that we had, all of those old things that we were hanging on to, and all those unconscious habits will only be the weights that will pull us underneath. Simply allowing those to be dropped and shifted. That's the reason we were drowning. And connecting with your heart space right now, I want you to imagine the sea anemone that started to feel safe while you weren't even looking. Noticing that over the past 6 months, over the past year, after the last year and a half, 2 years, these little fingers of this sea anemone have been just coming out to touch the surface. And I want you to imagine those fingers opening out as much as humanly possible. And as they do, it's like there's a lightning bolt or this electric thread that's coming from the ends of each of them. And it's literally starting to spread out through your body, almost like one of those electric balls that you can plug in and touch and the electricity will come out. And I want us to note the frequency that's coming out of that anemone and how many people can feel that. I know I can feel the buzzing already. Imagining those little tentacles as they come out, they start to get stronger and stronger. And the radio is being turned up. The frequencies are starting to be turned up. And it's starting to become this beautiful colored anemone. And you're watching it grow beneath your eyes right now. And feel as it just starts feeding in on all of the energy around it. Just like the earth's heartbeat, just like the frequency as we come into that state, as we start to wake up, our brain is matching this frequency, and I feel like you guys can feel it right now. And allowing that frequency to help our boundaries stay strong, we're just going to tag and treat anything in any of the energy systems. Just moving down through the chakras and almost feeling as though your feet or your tailbone have roots growing right out of them, just grounding you into Mother Earth. like that is your plug, like you can draw all the electricity needed to light up your anemone right down deep from the middle of our earth. Taking a nice deep breath, just feeling that energy exchange. I want you to imagine those colors, those extensions, those branches is now being tapped into all of the energy sources possible to help keep your GPS dialed in to exactly where it needs to go. And when you start to get into that worthlessness cycle or that structure, that path where we're not being kind to that beautiful, innocent baby, this is almost going to keep you in alignment without even having to work as hard. It's setting this field up, and I want you to just imagine those beautiful tentacles of that anemone reaching as far as they can right now in the most absolute beautiful way. And it's almost like every single one of those can reach a little bit of enlightenment at different points in time. And they're tapped in, and all of those are attached to the things that you love. And I want you to ask the superconscious field to just show you 2 or 3 things that you just love right now. Just literally ask the superconscious to show you all the ways that you can see things that you just love right now. And you might see yourself singing or kayaking or climbing a mountain, or just want you to notice all those little things. It might just be standing in the mountains. It might be swimming. It might be napping. I want you to just notice those things you just love. We're going to tag and treat all of this and ground it all into the matrix of the universe. And when you guys are ready, you are more than welcome to just wiggle some toes, wiggle some fingers. Come on back. I just felt called to sprinkle a few things we just love, like raindrops, down on us. Were you guys able to come up with anything? How was that for you? It's not definitely not the recode I had, or not the meditation I'd planned on doing, but it was so beautiful how it all just branched out in the end, like almost like it turned into a tree when I was looking at it. And I love doing groups because there was like rainbow colors going on in there. It was kind of neat. Oh, how did you guys do? I see Heather and Samara are off mute. Maybe I'll pick on you first. How did you guys do with that? Sometimes people are knocked out too, so I call on them and then they don't answer me.
Well, for once, I followed the journey. So
You did. Good for you.
maybe it's because I did have a 10-minute nap today.
Good for you.
So it was very, the word I would come up with is very soothing and very relaxing.
Good.
And the loving of me and forgiveness of me, it's like, the balm of Gilead, it's like, oh my God, yes, I need to, even though I do it myself, it's so much more powerful in a group energy with the forgiveness and the letting go and going into the beauty of who I am and all that. So it's quite the journey to go through, and then kind of lighting up the things that I love to do, the littlest of things to the biggest of things. So it, it was fantastic. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
so glad, Heather. That is awesome. That is awesome. I I love that you were able to come on the journey with us tonight, because we did dive into like, I have a group where we dove into a few of these things on Wednesday, and it, it it was a little bit different in that I really feel like there's so much to the little things that we overlook sometimes. So I really want to encourage you guys to take some little things that you can do this week that just literally make you happy, even if it's just scrubbing your feet in the shower, the things that even shaving an extra couple days, even if we don't love it, we love the way it feels, or, anything, just paint your nails, do something that's just self-serving in some way. Um, how about, did anybody else want to share? Nikki or Samara, Ruby, you guys are more than welcome to share if you'd like.
Yeah, I felt it was just so relaxing. Like I felt it more like in a tingling way. Like I started
Cool.
to feel like my skin started to warm up, and I just felt like a tingling. But I definitely also started feeling like a soreness over here on my right side. I don't know what that's about.
That's what that was. It was like literally like for me it was more into the back, but I could feel it. I was like that whole upper back, like, yeah, it's interesting. And when you think about it, there's probably something in that heart chakra, in that energy center, that if you think about to the first time you ever had that pain, you might even remember it as a kid. It might have been something kind of linger. It might have even been an injury, but the energy will go there for a moment and then it hurts. And as it moves through, it kind of just dissipates. Like, it doesn't feel, I don't feel it anymore, but for a while it felt like I was kind of being like stabbed in the back there for a bit. It was interesting. Not that I'm feeling yours, but sometimes like I'll just have this weird pain in my body and I'm like, I don't think that's mine. But there was oh, right clavicle. We all have like right shoulder stuff going on here. That's
That
wild,
was
eh?
interesting. That was different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had it happen when I'm doing energy work with one of my coaches, that it'll be so intense for a moment, like you get a real pain in an area and then it just dissipates. It's literally coming up to be released. It's, or just even acknowledged. That's very cool. I love it. And the tingles is the energy kind of moving through. That's so good. That's wonderful. And that's getting in touch with that conscious mind, getting those chemicals flowing. That's what meditation does, right? That's why all of the gurus, all of the um Buddhists, like they don't need drugs. They get the chemical release all the time. It's such a beautiful thing, to actually allow the body to do that. That's what people are looking for often with that, avoiding. There's, even playing a game. One of my clients actually, she said the biggest thing she did for this whole self-worth challenge that I've been sort of doing people lately, she deleted an app on her phone that was a game that she was just playing all the time, and she felt like, you know what, I just have to delete it, and it killed her to delete that game. But she said it made the biggest shift in her because she realized how much time it was sucking. And all the things that she's doing, and with it was like 2 hours a day probably that she was playing this, because she didn't realize, because one of the challenges I give you is take a screenshot of your screen time, and it's of your apps, which ones you use the most. And she realized she was spending like up to 4.5 hours on this game in a day. Had no idea she was doing that much, because she kept telling me, I don't have time to do this, don't have time to do that. So I was like, okay, go to this screen on your phone, take a snapshot, send it to me. And she's like, okay. And I said, okay, so now we look at each app, and I am not judging by any means. However, when we look at those little things, it's like, geez, that's a shift that I could make, because scrolling, any ing is something that generally is taking us into that worthlessness cycle again, right? So we look at, am I scrolling? Sometimes it's a good thing and you need to for work. But if it's township that's, 6 hours and 3 minutes a day, then it can end up being, or Candy Crush, I think it was, that she was playing. It just, or it was even one of those Wordle ones. She had switched from what was it? I can't remember, but it was really cute because she was like, those damn games. And who would have thought, she's not the game playing type, but it was that shut off of conscious mind, getting into that monkey brain, letting it just kind of go, right? Oh, you guys are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Did anybody else want to share before I let you guys go? I will always hold space for you to share, you know that. And I am again so grateful for you guys being here tonight. It makes my night, makes my whole week. I'm going to throw this up in my group. My group is called Magnetic Soul Life Coaching, and it is on Facebook, and my website is magneticsoul.ca. So if you're ever looking for me, you can always find me on there. And I have the utmost love for you guys, and I am always here if you need anything. So always feel free to shoot me messages, and I will see you guys in the group next week, and we'll be back again next Friday night for another meditation, and I'll probably be posting that up early in the week. So I always throw my Fridays in awesome. I always throw my Fridays in the Fantastic Four too, so you'll always see it on there. But yeah, feel free to look me up anytime. I am always around. You'll find me in all the typical spaces around Magnetic Mind. So
Thank you so
love you
much.
guys. Thank you. Have such a wonderful evening and a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Thank you.